This video is powered by KR Mangalam University. Hello and welcome. Europe is taking another look at its relationship with Washington after President Donald Trump confirmed the United States will pull thousands of troops out of Germany. That decision has sparked fresh discussion across European capitals about what the US role will look like going forward and how responsibilities are shared within NATO. In Berlin, officials are striking a steady note even as the broader Transatlantic partnership continues to adjust to changing priorities in Washington. For more on this, let's go across to Thomas Sparrow, correspondent for our partners DW in Berlin. Thomas, good to have you. How is Germany reacting to the prospect of deeper US troop cuts?
There is an understanding here in Germany, both politically and also among Germans, that the US troops that have been stationed here for a long time are very significant indeed. We're talking about 36,000 US troops stationed in Germany. That's by far the largest US military presence in Europe. And from that perspective, it is also clear that the announcement by the US government to cut around 5,000 of those troops is politically very significant. And it's significant on two levels. The first level is the message that Washington sends to Germany and to Europe. And that is a message that basically Europe needs to further develop its own military capabilities. But the second element is whether this actually has any influence on US power abroad. Now, 5,000 compared to 36,000 is not a lot. So military experts have stressed that this probably won't end or won't affect US military power to a large extent. But one important element there is that one of the units that will probably likely be scrapped is a unit that was planned by former President Biden in the United States to actually send long-range missiles to Europe as a very important sign of deterrence towards Russia. Now, that is being scrapped, and military experts are stressing that essentially leaves a very important, a very significant military gap that the Europeans then need to close.
Also, why does this matter beyond Germany for Europe as a whole?
So it definitely matters beyond Germany because the question here is also what impact that will have on NATO. These troops that have been stationed here in Germany for such a long time, they've actually been stationed since the end of the Second World War, especially during the Cold War. So there's a very important historical component to this. They're at the core of what NATO actually does. And by the way, they're also very significant for US operations beyond Europe. So, for example, US operations in the Middle East. Here in Germany, you have a very important air base, you have a very important military hospital, you have very important command structures. So all this essentially goes to show that a US presence in Europe is very significant for Europe, for NATO and also for the United States. NATO has now requested more information from the United States as to what these cuts actually mean, whether further cuts will actually come. And after that, it will basically move towards a debate among European NATO partners as to how European NATO partners can further develop their own military capabilities. So without doubt, this is something that has influence beyond what is happening specifically here in Germany.
And lastly, what does this mean for Europe's relationship with Washington going forward, Thomas?
It is definitely a very significant and very controversial moment for Germany and the US, and more broadly also for Europe and the US. It is not a secret that Europe and the United States have not seen eye to eye on many important issues, that also Germany and the United States have not seen eye to eye on many important issues, including, for example, their position on the war in Iran. If we speak specifically about Germany, there have been very open differences between US President Donald Trump and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz about the war in Iran, specifically the German Chancellor criticizing Donald Trump and the US strategy in that part of the world, and Donald Trump also on his social media platform then criticizing Friedrich Merz. So as such, the withdrawal of these troops from Germany has also been interpreted to a large extent as a political message that the United States sends to Germany as a way of, let's put it, as a punishment towards Germany for that not cooperation when it comes to the war in Iran, at least from the perspective of the United States. What this means going forward, specifically when it comes to Germany and the United States, is that both countries will have to work in trying to repair those differences. It is in the interest of both Germany and the United States to have a strong relationship. They're both in NATO. They're both tackling similar issues around the world. They're both very important political players in the world. So that's why experts have stressed that it is in both countries' interest to make sure that those differences are, in a way, discussed and repaired. But it will mean also that that repair process will be difficult because there are these very open discussions, there are very open disagreements on the table. If we look at it a bit broader when it comes to Europe and the United States, that goes beyond the issue of Iran. That also includes other issues that are very problematic, such as tariffs. Also, the war in Ukraine has revealed certain differences between Europe and the United States. So all in all, what we can say is the relationship between Washington and Europe, while it is very significant, it is not going through its best moment.
All right, Thomas, thank you so much for that report from Berlin.